Okay, so we're back. As you can see, got the AC unit placed, the gas placed, and the backyard tree. The AC unit was 20 feet from the southeast corner along the west side, east side of the house. The gas unit was 12 feet. It begins 12 feet from this corner and is 1 foot away. So basically the bottom of this round circle is 12 feet and then it's 1 foot away from the wall, and that's where our gas meter is. This is important to know, especially any kind of utilities, dryer vents, lines going out, gas lines, faucets, things like that. We want to put them on the map so that people will know where those are, because we want to plant differently, of course, around those things, or not at all, based upon the access. ACs have a lot of air going by them and they need access and servicing. Gas meters not so much, but you still have to get to them once in a while, so you don't want to just crowd it with all sorts of thorny bushes or hide it. It must be seen, and you have to get access to that. So the gas meter and the AC are in, marked with a G and an AC, and then also this is the 2 foot pad that it's on, and then a 1.5 foot circle for the gas meter. Also put in this existing tree up here, which is 15 feet from the north property line, or excuse me, 18 feet from the north property line and 15 feet from the west property line. And what I did was just measure the west one, made a little mark here, put my ruler down and my T-square and measured up this line, the direct distance from the north property line, and put my circle, or put my center line in there. Then taking the compass, any one of them, sometimes you have to put a little tape around them so they grab the pencil nicely, centering the compass, and then just dragging compass around and making a nice line. Do it a couple times, moving the pencil just a tad, and make another line, and that gives you a nice thick line where the tree is. And the trees should have a thicker line because they are very much a bigger part of the landscape. So the next thing we're going to do now is put in the driveway. It goes out of the garage at a 90-degree angle and is the same width as the garage to the property line, or the garage door, right? Access. Add a 10-foot easement and a 5-foot SIS zone from the curb. So as we put in the driveway, which is basically just a straight line, we're going to put that in now. We're just going to come off the garage door. So we'll move up our T-square, get it set, come off 90 degrees, set your pencil on the corner, and then draw that down. And set your pencil on this corner, and draw that down. And that's it for the driveway. We've got it all the way lined up right to the garage door. Now the other thing that we need to do, let me get some more light on that. You can see where that is now. There is an easement. So most properties, especially in the city and also out in the country, will have a 10-foot easement away from the street. And that's where all the utilities are. That's where maybe if they want to widen your road someday, it gives them that right to do that. Sometimes it's also called the right-of-way, but there's different kinds of easements on properties. And this one's 10 feet. So we find our 8 scale, find the 0, and we're going to go 8, 9, 10 right here and put our line on the 0. Same thing over here. Find the 0, 12, 11, 10. Right, so there's a 10-foot easement. Now an easement line, just like utility lines, any of those, is just a bunch of dashes, right? So a dashed line. We want to remember that in our design work, is that there's an easement there, and that is special consideration. We're not going to put a really expensive plant in there that might get ripped out when they redo the fiber optics or they redo the road. They add some more pipelines. You never know what's going to happen in an easement, and there's lots of different kinds for that. So that's an easement. You would also label that off to the side. I'm not going to right now, but you could write easement to remind you what that is. So that's at 10 feet. Now, in design consideration that we have, there's a whole nother issue, and that is the fact, depending upon where you live, if you're in the northern climates where there's snow and ice, there's the SIS zone. That's a snow, ice, and salt zone. And those areas of your property are prone to a lot of salt, freezing, and basically they just get abused by snow plows most of the winter. So we want to make sure that we have that consideration on too. So I'm going to start at my 0 and then 4, 5, put a line. Same thing over here, start at 0, 4, 5, put a line, then it's 5 feet. And that gets another dashed line. And that'll be our SIS zone. Okay. So here we have the SIS, and this is the easement. Already we're having to make design considerations based upon the environment, not only our weather, our sunlight, but the fact that this soil is going to be different than anywhere else on the lawn, unless of course you're on a corner and you have salt flying all over the place. And then there's an easement. There might even be an easement in the back. A lot of properties have a drainage easement in the back, which means it's usually a dip. It's a swale in the ground so that water drains away, and you can't change that. You can't plant in it, but you cannot disturb it and keep water from flowing down it. So we have our driveway put in now. We have our easements put in. We have all of our property lines in. Now we're going to put in the last thing, which is a fence. And as a good neighbor would, a fence is 2 feet south of the entire length of the north property line. And the posts are 8 feet apart. So we have a 1/4 inch. 2 feet is a 1/4 inch in 8 scale. So let's go measure that. Put the 0 on the line. 1, 2. Do that over here also. We can do it fairly easily. We'll just go with, start with 80 and go to 78. And now we know that we have a fence there 2 feet away. Now they are 8 foot apart posts, and we use an X for the posts. So I am going to just right now draw a thin line across that and then come back with the X's on there. I set the pencil on the point and then I move my ruler up until it stops. That's a better way to go. If you try to eye where the ruler is going, it's really hard, but if you set the pencil on the point, then move the ruler, you'll know that you've got it right. And I'm just going to come across with a line on that. That's our fence line. That was with the 4H. I'm going to take the HB, come across it so it's a little bit easier to see for you. And then I can take the ruler, the 8 scale ruler, put it on 0 on the property line, or every inch, since I know that it's 8 feet apart, the fence posts. That would be 1 inch. It'd be a little easier to see that. So at every inch, I'm going to make a little mark. Here we go. And then come back and do a little X. Now here we have the most simplest of base maps on 11 by 17 sheet of paper, but it's accurate. It's proportional to the measurements. We know where everything is on this. We can also now go back and add more windows as we would measure them from the corner. We could keep adding windows. If there's a picture window there and we measured that there was another window over here at a certain distance, we would put that in, and then we would fill in this square, because that's a solid wall, with pencil. And we go all around the house doing that until we're done. Putting in all the windows. There's probably a back door and those things. But we have a good start on our base map now. Property lines, the building, sidewalk, some easements, other things. You might want to add the utility pole. If you have underground electricity, it's coming in the house somewhere, you want to find that and you would mark that. If out here you had a pedestal where the transformer is, you would measure that off one of these corners and draw that in also. If you have a power line coming in, most likely on the property line back here or over on this side, there's going to be a power pole. They're usually about 1 foot to 2 feet across, depending how big they are.